Hello everyone, welcome to PlaythenPaint, where we play a game and take a delve into its visual language and then paint an oil painting based on that game. This week we're diving into Death Stranding and the beauty of its desolation. The beauty in Death Stranding doesn't always come from its moment-to-moment awe, of which there's plenty, but from the quiet moments of contemplation. It poses questions with its desolate, almost primordial landscapes, the most pertinent one being, what happened to the industrial world that left its inhabitants strung out across the skeletal remains of the United States? The visual language of Death Stranding is what excites me the most, unsurprisingly perhaps, as I spend an awful lot of my time honing my own visual language in the form of oil paintings. Death Stranding's use of the desolate is subtle, yet profound. I believe that art informs art. As Sir Isaac Newton said, if I should have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. And while Death Stranding doesn't wear its artistic influences on its sleeve, it does offer hints at the art that informed its style. When you first take on the role of Sam Porter and given free rein to explore the windswept hills and jagged crags of the game world, the first thing that springs to mind is how Icelandic everything looks. Thick heather hills crowned by imposing black rock mountains, an ocean, dark and cold, lapping against shingle beaches, pure streams trickling over stream beds. It's apparent that the game world is based on Nordic landscapes, as opposed to the United States, and when you experience the moment-to-moment gameplay, you come to understand that the struggle for survival in a harsh landscape is intended. The cold and dangerous landscapes of, say, Iceland, is in direct juxtaposition of the secure, futuristic, yet empty cities where humanity has hidden itself away. I'm reminded of the retro-futuristic paintings of, and forgive my pronunciation here, Simon Stellenhag. Stellenhag combines the pastoral, untouched land of his native Sweden, and also America, with the electronic and steel-clad carapaces of unbelievable technology. Scenes of reflection merge with humanity's hubris and ingenuity, and work together to create these otherworldly scenes of the future meeting the idyllic. Please do go check out some of Stellenhag's work, he really is an immensely talented artist. I'll leave a link in the description below. Returning to Death Stranding, we see the same approach as Stellenhag in terms of visual language. We see isolated pockets of humanity in futuristic cities, unable to grapple with the wild and untamed landscape which the Death Stranding has brought. Of course, Sam isn't the only one who braves these hinterlands. Populating the in-between are mules, masked and deranged couriers whom Sam must tangle with from time to time, and the always unnerving BTs, spirit-like entities that stalk the world like spiders on the hunt. The mules are fascinating. Chiral radiation has warped their sense of purpose, meaning they take irrational ownership of their roles as couriers, leading them to violently seize deliveries if given the chance. Their appearance is of particular note though, especially the fact that they're masked. Masks feature heavily in Death Stranding, and I don't want to risk spoiling it for anyone who hasn't had a chance to play it, so let's just look at the symbolism of masks in a more general sense. First and foremost, they're a tool of concealment, allowing the wearer to commit acts, such as stealing cargo, with anonymity. More than that though, masks are of great importance to all human societies, especially in religious practices and especially shamanistic societies. And if observed at their camps, the mules do have a tribe-like aspect, a brotherhood of fanatics who worship their previous role as couriers, a role that grew in importance significantly after the Death Stranding. A cult, if you will. Again, the Death Stranding's art direction does with a few choice visuals what entire theses take thousands of words to describe. Though you may not think too deeply on it while you're outrunning them or engaging them in combat, you subconsciously glean the meaning they're meant to impart, and that is visual language boiled down to its very essence. BTs then are something more fluid and less rigid than the cult-like mules. The BTs are chaos, their uncertainty, the raging sea or a stormy highland. When facing off against a BT, the weather is always dramatic, the landscape a broiling black sea. Most BTs are spirits trapped between the land of the living and death, and this unsettling prospect is perhaps why, when engaged in combat, they have such a dramatic effect on their surroundings, a mirror of pathetic fallacy. Their pain and confusion made tangible in the real world. Another thing to note perhaps is the colour of their outbursts, viscous black liquid known as tar. The importance of tar in Death Stranding is somewhat up for debate. It drowns yet preserves, destruction then preservation. I have a theory that this may be an allegory for the UCA or maybe humanity as a whole. We risk running into spoiler territory here though if we pursue this idea, but I'd be interested to know what you think. Let me know in the comments below. After all this, you'd be forgiven for thinking that Death Stranding is a game about doom and gloom and the frailty of the human psyche, and I'm partly to blame for that, apologies. It's true that the theme of loss is evident throughout, but it's also an extremely hurtful game. It's no secret that Hideo Kojima had human connection at the forefront of his mind when he sat down to pen Death Stranding. Though I imagine like most art, it morphed throughout the creation, as is the way with these things. Visually, we see this message in various objects. Sam, a character who is defined by his solitude, is still shackled to humanity whether he likes it or not. Literally, as we see the UCA, or the United Cities of America, gift, and I use that word in the loosest sense, a pair of handcuffs that relay important messages and act as a guide menu throughout the game. This visual language is pretty on the nose, there's very little allegory there. Sam is chained to this world, to the UCA and to humanity and other people, and again in an attempt to avoid spoilers, he's stuck here like it or not. The themes of loss yet hope, of destruction then preservation, make Death Stranding a game that sticks with you long after the credits have rolled. And while the game garnered criticism for its sometimes tedious gameplay loop, it still has an exceptionally unique and often melancholy story, which its visual language elevates to something that is unlike anything I've ever played before. With the themes firmly in our mind, let's make a painting and see if we can capture some of them. I wanted this painting to be a portrait, as the story of Death Stranding is a story about being human and all the conditions that brings. The background I kept misty and obscure, with the 5 floating figures lost in the distance. Now they are a whole area of debate in themselves, and I'd recommend diving down that particular rabbit hole if given the chance. Again, I'll leave a link in the description below. The expression of the portrait I kept obscure, floating between acceptance and weariness. I'm happy to welcome your interpretations there. Adding the tarry tears was in my initial sketch, as I find the idea of the tar and its uses stuck with me long after the credits rolled, and I wanted to capture a piece of that feeling. After that, it was all about describing form and adding a light source that was off the canvas, once again leaving it open to interpretation. And this is the finished piece. Thanks for watching everyone. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more games explored and paintings painted, consider liking and subscribing. Your support means a great deal. And I'd love to hear your suggestions about which game I should play then paint next. Let me know in the comments. Thank you, and until next time, farewell.